AMD's shares skyrocketed this morning after announcing a huge deal with OpenAI. But the devil is in the detail with these deals. And the details of this deal are stranger than anything I have ever seen. There has been lots of different financing deals helping customers buy products by offering credit. Auto companies do that all the time. NVIDIA did that recently with OpenAI. But in this case, AMD is going to be selling their chips to a company that doesn't have the money to buy them. So they're giving equity in AMD that OpenAI can then either turn around and sell in the market or borrow against to buy those chips. This is a highly risky move by all of these companies involved. OpenAI, NVIDIA, AMD, Oracle. These are massive, multi-hundred billion dollar agreements. There's trillions of dollars in market cap at stake. So let's dig into the details because you need to know exactly what OpenAI is getting and what AMD is giving up. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And of course, check out my newsletter, Asymmetric Investing. That's where you're going to get my market beating portfolio. I started that portfolio from scratch. I buy stocks once a month. My October buys recently went out, but I have more coverage coming now that earnings season is coming. So lots to cover there. And I want to thank this video sponsor, Fiscal AI. I'm going to be using Fiscal AI throughout this video. It's the best platform for fundamental research. So if you want to look at things like transcripts of today's event with AMD, if you want to look at their SEC filings, we're going to do all that within Fiscal AI. If you want to check this out for 2 weeks for free, go to fiscal.ai/ASYM. That'll give you 2 weeks. If you like what you see, you can get 15% off there. So I recommend checking that out if you are an investor. Let's first look at the move in AMD stock today, up 25.5% as I'm recording. This is kind of late in the day. But you can see that shares were almost at $230 per share early in trading today. So huge reaction. And what started this is the press release from OpenAI. I want to show you the source material here. So we'll start with this press release. OpenAI and AMD announced strategic partnership to deploy 6 gigawatts of AMD GPUs. So these are going to be the Instinct MI450 GPUs. The production is going to actually begin in the second half of 2026, so about a year from now. This is going to be a core strategic compute partner for OpenAI. And as part of the deal, this is the part I want to focus on here. They're going to get warrants for up to 160 million shares of AMD stock, structured to vest as specific milestones are achieved. I'll go through some of those. But the short story here is that AMD is effectively giving OpenAI 160 million shares of stock. At the price right now, that's worth about $33 billion. So OpenAI signs a deal with AMD, but AMD gives OpenAI $33 billion worth of the company. Let's get to the details, and that's going to be found in their SEC filings. So I'm going to go right here to filings on the right, and this is the 8K that was filed this morning with the SEC. So you can see purchase agreement. The first tranche is going to vest after they deliver the first gigawatt of MI450 series GPUs. And the full vesting of the 160 million shares is contingent on the warrant holder purchasing of the full 6 gigawatts. But let's not forget about this very small detail. The exercise price of these warrants is 1 cent per share. So it's not zero. They're not technically giving away $33 billion of AMD stock, but they're giving away almost $33 billion of AMD stock. This is a crazy deal because AMD is basically bribing OpenAI to buy their chips. Now, this isn't a completely new structure. I have seen a couple of these things before. One that I wanted to point out is Plug Power has done this a couple of times with Walmart and Amazon. This is going back to 2017 as part of a purchase agreement. Amazon was also granted the right to acquire 55.3 million shares of Plug Power's common stock. But that came with a purchase price of $1.19 per share. So there was a price that they actually had to pay. It was like buying an option. So these are warrants are kind of long dated options. The purchase price wasn't a penny. They did something similar a few years later, 2022. Amazon was granted the right to acquire 16 million shares of Plug Power stock. But again, the purchase price was $23 per share. Now they did have a conference call this morning. So this is the full transcript from that conference call. Quick summary that you can get on Fiscal AI shows that the partnership's value is expected to add double-digit billion dollars of incremental data center AI revenue. So AMD wants to be in the data center game. They can't lose this game entirely to NVIDIA. By the way, NVIDIA can't be happy about this because they recently announced that they were going to invest $100 billion in OpenAI, in part to build out data centers that are powered by NVIDIA GPUs. So they're going to turn around and use at least some of that money or some of the capital that they're being able to raise because of deals like they're making with NVIDIA. They're going to turn around and make a deal with AMD. Now, likely the AMD deal is going to be for inference chips. So there's a lot of complexities here, but fundamentally, OpenAI does not have the money to buy NVIDIA chips or buy AMD chips or build these data centers. So they're having to make partnerships with all these companies, throw Oracle in there as well. Now, AMD thinks that they can turn this into tens of billions of dollars in annual data center revenue starting in 2027. And the ecosystem should get a little bit better, allowing for over $100 billion in revenue over the next few years. Like I said, those warrants, the final tranche actually invests if AMD gets to $600 per share. So there are some incentives that are sort of in line with AMD and OpenAI. But at the end of the day, OpenAI does not have the money to pay AMD for these chips. So AMD is effectively giving them the money. How exactly that mechanic works, we don't quite know yet. They could be borrowing that money from private equity, for example. There's lots of private debt funds that would love to fund deals like this. And if you have an asset like AMD's warrants to backstop those, that could be a critical asset to get the cash you need to buy NVIDIA chips, to buy AMD chips, to pay for the Oracle deal. So OpenAI needs assets, or they need cash. This is going to be one of the ways that they're going to be able to do it. AMD wants to be in the GPU game. They're basically giving OpenAI an incentive to become one of their partners. But this has not necessarily worked out well for investors in the past. Let's go back to this Plug Power deal. You can see that they had a goal of 2025, $3 billion in revenue. Guess what? Plug Power is going to get nowhere near that $673 million in revenue over the past year. The stock has also not done well. You can look at since October 2020, shares are down 75%. We could go back further. We could go back to late 1999, shares are down 98%. 2005, shares are down 93%. So there's peaks and valleys here, but fundamentally, Plug Power is not a stronger company because they gave Walmart and Amazon warrants to buy their product. The thing that I think really needs to make investors uncomfortable today is the fact that massive companies like NVIDIA and AMD, these are supposed to be the powerhouses of the future of artificial intelligence, but they're having to give their customers money to buy their chips. That is not a sustainable solution. That is not a sign of a strong market. That is not a sign of strong economics in artificial intelligence. So this should have some red flags going off. And this is one of the strangest deals because those warrants have a strike price of just a penny for OpenAI. I don't think this is the kind of deal that ends well. I'm not saying the bubble is going to burst in the next month or two, but these kinds of deals are making me very uncomfortable about how sustainable the future of artificial intelligence is. And investors should be thinking about this. So let me know your thoughts on the AMD OpenAI deal. Leave your comments in the comments section below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter, Asymmetric Investing. Like I said, link in the screen, any link in the show notes. If you want to beat the market, I think that's a phenomenal place to start. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you here next time.